Do you think you have a pretty good grasp of internet security? Well, you need to think again. There are skilled and secretive hackers out there who could get past pretty much anything you put in their way. Not only are these hackers clever, they are also inventive and constantly invent new ways of getting past security protocols. Whatever you and your server do to protect yourselves, these hackers are always one step ahead. Let's have an overview of the 10 most dangerous hackers of all time. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more informative videos like these. Number 10. Jeremy Hammond. Currently serving a 10-year prison sentence, Jeremy Hammond is the hacker who stole 60,000 credit card numbers and used them to make donations to charity. He certainly seems to be broadly on the side of good, attacking neo-Nazis and Holocaust deniers, but there's no denying he's on the wrong side of the law at the same time. One of his biggest achievements was hacking the emails of the Stratford Group, who specialize in global intelligence, and publishing 973 of them on the WikiLeaks website. Among the revelations contained in the emails were details of Osama bin Laden's death and plans to incite a revolution in Venezuela. It was shocking stuff, but it was the credit card theft that saw him sent to jail. Number 9. Kevin Poulsen. Sometimes hackers can appear perfectly innocuous in their day-to-day lives. Take Kevin Poulsen, who is now news editor for Wired.com, a popular and legitimate site favored by geeks. But he was once a black hat hacker, pulling off such stunts as winning a Porsche 944 S2 from KIIS FM by hacking their phone lines and guaranteeing he was the 102nd caller. Like other hackers, he has used his powers for the greater good by identifying MySpace users who were looking for child porn, but he also hacked into the FBI computers and ended up serving a 5-year sentence for his crimes. Since his release, he's concentrated on his writing career, not just at Wired, but also with his book Kingpin. He is a versatile, and it would seem, reformed hacker. Number 8. Jonathan James. A lot of hackers start young, and they will only get younger as this generation grows up surrounded by technology. Jonathan James was the poster boy for teenage hackers, gaining his first conviction at the age of 16 for stealing $170 million worth of code from NASA. He did this by hacking into the computers of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency and installing a backdoor, which gave him access to both messages and source code. He was 15 at the time of the offense and 16 when tried, so he received only a juvenile sentence. He resolved to put this past behind him, but in 2007, his name was mentioned in conjunction with a hack on the TJX department store. Maintaining his innocence but convicted, he would go to prison. He committed suicide on May 18, 2008. Number 7. The AURORA hackers. AURORA is a group of hackers rather than a single one. These were the people responsible for Operation Aurora, an international and complex hack in 2009 that targeted 34 companies, including Google and Yahoo. The hackers are believed to come from China as part of the Elderwood Gang, a group of hackers based in Beijing. Google was the first to make the attack public, stating on their blog that they had their intellectual property stolen. It seems that the hackers were after the source code of these internet giants, rather than any personal information, although it later emerged that certain Gmail accounts had also been hacked. The hackers behind AURORA have never been caught, and they are said to still be actively hacking. The main result of the whole episode was that Google withdrew from China entirely. Number 6. ADRIAN LAMO. Known as the homeless hacker because he did his hacking while couch surfing and living in hostels, ADRIAN LAMO is something of a troubled character. Ex-girlfriends describe him as controlling, and he has been diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. He may also have been the subject of a restraining order at one point and is so strongly religious that he refuses to give blood samples. All of this may explain his antisocial behavior, hacking into the New York Times website and adding himself to their expert database. It was for this that he was convicted in 2004 and sentenced to 6 months detention at his parents' house, plus a fine. He also turned the hacking community against each other. After donating to WikiLeaks, he then exposed one of their contributors, a soldier called Bradley Manning, who was leaking confidential military information. LAMO was supported by Kevin Poulsen, and together they were called felons and snitches, but LAMO maintains that Manning was putting lives in danger with his actions. Number 5. Albert Gonzalez. According to the New York Daily News, Gonzalez, dubbed Soup Nazi, got his start as the troubled pack leader of computer nerds at his Miami high school. He eventually became active on the criminal commerce site shadowcrew.com and was considered one of its best hackers and moderators. At 22, Gonzalez was arrested in New York for debit card fraud relating to stealing data from millions of card accounts. To avoid jail time, he became an informant for the Secret Service, ultimately helping indict dozens of Shadow Crew members. Number 4. Vladimir LEVIN. LEVIN's story is shrouded in mystery despite having occurred more than 2 decades ago. In one of the first major financial cybercrimes, the St. Petersburg resident cracked the accounts of several major corporate customers at Citibank through their dial-up wire transfer service. Cutting edge for its day, the service had a number of flaws, a number of which remain undisclosed even 20 years later. LEVIN was able to take advantage of those flaws to obtain account credentials for a number of customers' accounts. And because the bank did not make use of multi-factor authentication for wire transfers, he could then simply dial into the system and send money to anywhere he wanted. That included accounts in Finland, the Netherlands, Germany, and Israel. To recover the cash from the accounts, LEVIN used accomplices in Tel Aviv, Rotterdam, and San Francisco. And this is where he tripped up. Citibank had spotted the bogus transfers and monitored the destination accounts. His accomplices were arrested when they attempted to withdraw the money. Because Russia refused to extradite him, LEVIN appeared to escape punishment initially. But then he made the mistake of taking an intercontinental flight that had a stopover in London. Under existing agreements, officers from Scotland Yard apprehended him and extradited him to the United States for trial. He pled guilty and was sentenced to 3 years in jail and had to pay around $240,000 in restitution. Citibank recovered all but $400,000 of the money. The twist to LEVIN's case came almost a decade later, when an anonymous poster on a Russian website claimed that he was the original hacker, and LEVIN had simply bought credentials off of him and made the transfers. Number 3. Gary McKinnon. McKinnon's place on the list is secured through less nefarious deeds than most of the others, although there's no question that the Scottish programmer and system administrator is a gifted and accomplished hacker. His motivations don't immediately strike anyone as very threatening. Most of his exploits were launched in a vain effort to obtain evidence of UFO activity and alien technologies he believed were being hidden by the American government. McKinnon was able to penetrate security systems in 97 different US military and NASA computers in a 13-month period, deleting critical files in one case that completely shut down the Army's Washington, D.C. network for 24 hours. In the wake of the September 11th attacks, he broke into and deleted weapons logs at the Earl Naval Weapons Station, throwing the Navy's Atlantic Fleet into confusion even as it was mobilizing defenses. For all that, McKinnon proved relatively easy to track down. UK authorities interviewed him and confiscated his computers on behalf of their US counterparts in March 2002. Number 2. Michael CALCE. In February 2000, 15-year-old Michael CALCE, known as Mafia Boy, discovered how to take over networks of university computers. He used their combined resources to disrupt the #1 search engine at the time named Yahoo. Within 1 week, he also brought down Dell, eBay, CNN, and Amazon using a distributed denial-of-service attack that overwhelmed corporate servers and caused their websites to crash. Number 1. Kevin Mitnick. If there is a name that is synonymous with hacker, it is certainly Kevin Mitnick. It seemed like the Van Nuys native was born into the role, getting an early start by hacking the Los Angeles bus system for a ride for free at the age of 13 through a combination of social engineering and dumpster diving. By the age of 16, he was into DEC's proprietary development computers and the Pacific Bell system, all before the internet had really even got off the ground. He got caught and sentenced to a year in prison, one of the first major computer hacking prosecutions. But shortly after his release, he was at it again, and when further warrants were issued, he became a fugitive. Hacking cell phone networks and major computer makers on the road, he escaped justice until FBI agents tracked him down in North Carolina in 1995, after which he served another 5 years in prison. 8 months of that was spent in solitary confinement because prosecutors convinced the judge that he could potentially start a nuclear war by whistling certain codes into a telephone. Such superpowers were not within his or anyone's repertoire. But the thing about Mitnick was that he just never really gave up. His technical skills were adequate at best, but his social engineering was second to none. He claims that all of his compromises were the result of exploiting weak passwords or gaining codes through deception. Unlike most of the names on this list, Mitnick's story has a happy ending. Many in today's cybersecurity community feel that he was punished excessively for no other reason other than to make an example out of him. His career after prison has been on the white hat side of the cybersecurity fence, consulting with the FBI and Fortune 500 firms to harden their cybersecurity defenses. Have you heard about any dangerous hackers? What did you find the most exciting about them? Let us know in the comments below.